Good morning. I'm Tobias Cramer from the physics department here of the University of Bologna, and I was asked to give the welcome this morning and to say hello to all of you. So welcome to Bologna, welcome to this NanoScientific workshop. So I was asked to spend a few words about the university and the place where we are, and then later, of course, I have also the scientific presentation to open this conference. So in order, of course, to say something about Bologna, you have to go way back in history to 1088, so that's the year when the University of Bologna was founded. Of course, it was not founded as a scientific institute, but as a law school, so it was basically about teaching, first of all, but things got very fast international because Barbarossa, he provided a very important law that granted protection to all foreign students. Okay, so the sound working? Okay, I'm not used to a stage, right? There is a stage light, so I'm almost blind now. I'm speaking into the microphone, that's a bit complex. Okay, so Barbarossa said that foreigners are protected here, meaning that, for example, you too, you are granted these rights. So no one will block your credit card because your country of origin has a big debt that is in international bank accounts. Okay, so feel safe, you are protected, you have your individual rights, and that's already since medieval ages. And that, of course, put Bologna into the heart of Europe. And we had a lot of very important international guests here. And let me show you this brief video to introduce you, if it works.
Hunger for knowledge pushes humankind beyond its limits and over its boundaries. Throughout history, men and women have always left their homes to reach centers of education and research. Emperor Frederick Barbarossa called them expatriates for the love of knowledge, in authentica habita, the document that granted the emperor's protection to anyone living in a foreign city for study purposes. Protection was for the doctores dello studium, the earliest group at the University of Bologna. Among them, one of the first significant teachers was the jurist and glossator Irnerius, father of European law. The document states, "May they be spared from all offense as they illuminate the world with their science." In the 13th century, groups of students from the same place called nationes were formed. Today, college buildings and works of art honor their memory, like the polyptych commissioned by English students in memory of Thomas Becket, the martyr who studied in Bologna. Gratian was the founder of the School of Canon Law. He was the jurist who reorganized 1,000 years of self-contradictory ecclesiastic rules. Dante, who attended Bologna's cultural circles, remembers him in the Divine Comedy. This next flamelet issues from Gratian's smile, he who gave such help to the ecclesiastic and civil spheres as is acceptable in paradise. Great protagonists of the Renaissance who studied in Bologna are Leon Battista Alberti, Pico della Mirandola, Albrecht Dürer, and Erasmus of Rotterdam. Nicolaus Copernicus came here to study law, met astronomer Domenico Maria Novara, and on March 9, 1497, they observed the eclipse of Aldebaran, the brightest star in the constellation Taurus. He described the phenomenon in his book that proved the heliocentric system theory, changing our perception of space forever. The world also changed thanks to Ulisse Aldrovandi, the father of natural history studies and inventor of the word geology. He founded Bologna's botanical gardens, one of the first in Europe. The plant genus Aldrovanda is named after him. The world changed thanks to Marcello Malpighi, father of histology and microscopic anatomy. Malpighi's name was given to several parts of our body, the Malpighian corpuscles and Malpighian pyramids of the kidneys, the Malpighian bodies of the spleen, and the Malpighian tubule systems in insects. After him, Bologna's anatomy research reached new heights with Mondino di Liuzzi and Taddeo Alderotti. The world changed thanks to physicist Laura Bassi, the first woman ever to earn a professorship at a university. Vienna and Innsbruck universities, as well as a 31-kilometer crater on Venus, all bear her name. The world changed thanks to the discoveries of Luigi Galvani, one of the founders of modern electrotechnology, with Alessandro Volta, Benjamin Franklin, and Henry Cavendish. A crater on the moon is named after him. Giosuè Carducci, the first Italian to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature, also left his mark. In 1888, as rector of the University of Bologna, Carducci celebrated the 8 centuries of the institution. Schools around the world came together to honor the mother of all universities, Giacomo Chamichan, an early proponent of solar energy and founder of modern photochemistry. In 1912, he said, "If in a distant future the supply of coal becomes completely exhausted, civilization will not be checked by that, for life in civilization will continue as long as the sun shines." In the last century, with its honorary degrees, the University of Bologna paid homage to 780 people for their outstanding service to all areas of culture and science. At 900 years from its foundation, the Magna Carta of Bologna's famed educational institution reminds universities across the world of the tenets of their work: autonomy, the inevitable connection between teaching and research, freedom of teaching, the need for sharing knowledge, and interaction between cultures. An essential premise: education drives the very development of humankind. If we are dwarfs on the shoulders of giants, and for this we can see more things and farther away, the dwarfs that will climb on our shoulders will see beyond the limits of our world.
Okay, so far as a brief introduction to our story. Okay, here you really feel as dwarfs, a dwarf on the shoulder of giants, right? Okay, as a physicist, I like this way of saying, because what's not clear whether it's a converging series, right? It could also be that there is an asymptotic limit and we won't see over it, or we will grow and grow and grow, right? So that's what I like about it. But anyway, it was a promotional video. And of course, nowadays, university is like a modern local university. So you'll see it, for example, in the student numbers. Of course, that's something that you cannot compare to the medieval ages. We are almost 100,000 students at the University of Bologna. We have all important university departments from law, medicine, science schools, and of course engineering. It's in total 220 degree programs, a lot of different PhD doctoral programs. It's around 50, and a lot of them are international, so we still have a huge number of international collaborations, and it's one of the biggest universities in Italy. What's important still is, of course, the internationalization. So Alma Mater holds the first place among European universities in terms of the number of incoming and outgoing students. So that's, of course, something that we are very proud of. Here you can see only in Europe, which are typical destinations of outgoing or incoming students. Of course, Bologna University, what is so special about it is that it's still a city center university, so we are not a campus. We really have our university and a lot of the lecture halls here in the city center. And that's Piazza Maggiore, and when the students get their degree, one of the main manifestations is still in Piazza Maggiore. And of course, that's something which is very special and which I hope you can also appreciate during your stay here. So you will see also around this lecture hall the students, and there are many other facilities of the university in the city center that you can visit. Among them, of course, also very interesting museums and libraries and lecture halls. Okay, another important thing that especially as a German I have to mention is this one here, okay? So that's a misunderstanding, it's an error. It's something that shouldn't exist in this way, right? As a physicist, it's easy for me to understand, and also if you practice eating this one here, this is spaghetti alla Bolognese. The Germans, I know, they know it for sure. I don't know if it's also spread already in Asia. You know it in Korea, I don't know. Spaghetti alla, probably not, right? But this is a typical European food you'll find everywhere, and it gets the name from Bologna. The funny thing is that it doesn't make sense, because if you eat the spaghetti, you will have the meat on your dish. If you eat the dish, you cannot eat the spaghetti. The two of them do not stick together, right? It's a problem of consistency. So putting spaghetti with sugo alla Bolognese doesn't make sense, right? It's something that shouldn't exist, and I don't know why it has spread around Europe. If you're here in Bologna, I can tell you what you really have to eat, because it's like two of them. If you have mashed meats, you can eat it either with this kind of shorter noodles, this is gramigna al ragu, and with shorter noodles, you have the perfect mixture. So at the end, you will always eat meat and noodles together, right? Makes sense. The other thing is more complicated and even more delicious. It's a tortellini in brodo. Here you do not see the meat because it's inside, right? So these are the two typical dishes, and of course you have to taste them, right? I hope you get the chance. All right, to say something else in science. But of course our main purpose here is this workshop. We have a fantastic program. I guess you had a look at it. Just to give you a quick run through it. So we start with a session on semiconductors and how to use AFM and semiconductor characterization. Tomorrow we're going to talk about SPM metrology, and on the last day we talk about the life science and biotechnology interface. What is so nice about this workshop is the fact that we have these experimental sessions, right? It's not just about talking and ideas, it's really about practicing experiments and sharing our experiments or our ideas on our practical ideas also on how to conduct them. And that's so nice about this workshop. What I like so much, the fact that we have just next to the lecture hall the instruments that we are most of all using. We also have a poster session, and of course then there is the evening program where I also, you can taste the food, and we'll have a look tomorrow in a enjoy Bologna city tour. So that's great. Another nice opportunity. I mean, Bologna, there is a lot of AFM going on. There are several groups active. And there is Cristiano Albonetti, one of the historical persons here. And one of his ideas was to organize an art exhibition about AFM, kind of, right? And that's something that he started here in Bologna. And we are very proud to exhibit a few of the works that were present in this exhibition. It's called Art at the Nano Scale. If you just read the first sentences, you see that we are leaving the scientific terrain and entering into art and humanistic sciences. And I think this boundary is very nice. What is important, if you go to the pictures, there is a QR code, right? If you just look at them, you're not so sure whether that's an AFM image or that's an artistic image. So there is this boundary. And if you read the documentation about the original image and how it was modified and why and what's the idea of the artist, that gives you a much deeper insight into this work. So it's outside on the square, you'll see the pictures. Right, the last words about this lecture hall here. It has an amazing story. So it started, so this room here was built as a dining hall in a monastery, right? That's why there are also here the frescoes. And it started in the Middle Ages, so 1500. Later in the Napoleon ages, it was used as a prison. Okay, so we are here standing in a prison that was active until the 80s, 90s. And then quite recently, so some 20 years ago, it was all restored and given to the university, and now it's part of the Department of History. Feel free to just walk around. You can also go upstairs to have a better look on the square, and it's a nice place also just to see here. You can go also downstairs, and you will see that it has even an older history than in the Middle Ages, probably here also already the Romans, or even before they had their first buildings, because we are here on a kind of a small hill in the city center of Bologna, so it's a kind of a strategic position. Okay, final words. Of course, a lot of thanks to our sponsors, in particular Park, who is also the organizer, in particular Justina Sliver, who is organizing and putting all the practical things together here, and of course Ludger Weissner, head of Park Systems Europe. Local organizing committee, that's me and my colleagues from the University of Bologna and CNR ESMN. That's so far was my welcoming word. I'd like to ask also Ludger to provide from Park Systems to provide some introductory words, and then Justina to give us some updates on organization.